Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for quieting down automatically. That's important. My name is Laura Smits. I am the co-president of the League of Women Voters of Connecticut. I'm also the Norwalk convener, a co-convener of the League of Women Voters of Norwalk. Welcome all of you. I want to thank our co-sponsors tonight, NancyOnNorwalk and Norwalk Acts. Especially, we also want to especially thank the middle school principal and the custodial staff of Nathan Hale for letting us host our event here. Completely appreciate it. We welcome all of you here tonight. The 17 and 2021 Stanford Mayoral Debates. Mr. Morest is the recipient of the National History Day Patricia Baring Teacher of the Year Award and the Stanford Public Education Foundation's Educator of the Year Award, and he has guided hundreds of students, including many from Norwalk, in civic engagement, debate, and historical research at the local, state, and national levels. Please welcome our moderator, Claude Morest.
Good evening. So I'm going to go over the rules for the event, and then we'll get this debate going. The evening is going to start with questions prepared by the league. After that, I will ask questions that were provided from the audience. If you would like to submit a question, raise your hand, and an usher will bring you a card. When you're finished, hold it up and an usher will collect it. We will try to get as many of your questions as possible, but we probably will not get to all of them. Please make sure you write legibly and that your question is not directed to one specific candidate. Your questions will be screened by a bipartisan panel for repetition and legibility. Candidates drew for the order in which they'll start answering questions. Candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question, and we'll have 1 minute of rebuttal time if they choose for each of the questions. Timers are in the front row. Each candidate has their own timer who will hold up signs to indicate how much time they have left. The evening will end with a 3-minute closing statement from each candidate. Closing statements will start in the opposite order from the opening question. The forum will end at 8:30. I'm very pleased that several of my students have come to attend this debate, so I want to give a shout out to them. And I want to ask the audience that you set a great example for them of citizenship by refraining from any sort of shenanigans or disrespectful behavior. It's very important that we model good citizenship for the future. Also ask that you do your best to stay off your phones. I think that the candidates will appreciate if you're paying attention and listening. So you might have come here to support one particular, it's your spouse or your uncle or your aunt or something of that nature. But listen to all the candidates, give them your attention so that they know that their time is being used well. I will tell you also that I am a teacher, so I do have eyes in the back of my head. I will be sitting up here facing the candidates, but I will know everything that is going on behind me. So don't be surprised if you get in trouble. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn my back on you and start the questions. First, let me just introduce each of the candidates and hold your applause until we've heard all 4 names, if you would. And in general, please hold your applause tonight because it'll just slow things down and we won't get to hear as many responses to these important questions. All right, so let me go through the four candidates who are here in alphabetical order. We have John Kides, Vinnie Scicitano, Barbara Smith, Eric Vitaglione. Those are our candidates. You may applaud now. All right, with that, we will start our debate. Timer should be ready. And the first candidate to reply to this question is going to be Barbara Smith. And here's the question. Why are you running for mayor of Norwalk? And what are your qualifications?
Thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you to the League and to Nancy on Norwalk for hosting this event. I'm running for mayor of Norwalk because I genuinely believe that I am the most qualified candidate. I have served on the Common Council for 8 years. I have chaired key committees, and I have been elected Common Council president twice. I've also been a teacher in our schools. And I think that that gives me a very unique perspective and experience. One of the things that I often say is that, Norwalk is such a very diverse community with differing needs and sometimes competing needs. And the experience that I have in our classroom really gives me an understanding and sensitivity to those needs throughout our community. And being able to bring people together. So I think that that's something very unique that I bring, as well as a perspective during the budget cycle. We've had some challenges with our budget, and I think that my unique experience both on the council, excuse me, as well as a teacher gives me a particularly unique perspective to help guide us to end the divisiveness and to move us forward to do everything we can for our kids and our teachers. I've had the experience on the council as council president to guide the council through very tough times through the COVID pandemic when we had no script and we were really just trying to figure it out. So that's also something that I bring, which is the ability to lead during a crisis. I've also done the same thing in the classroom with my students, through, Parkland and different school shootings, to be able to lead my kids through these crises. And that's something unique that I think that I bring. And so I'm running because, as I said, I really feel I'm the most qualified candidate here tonight.
Okay. Same question for you, Mr. Scicitano. Why are you running for mayor of Norwalk and what are your qualifications?
I'm running for mayor of Norwalk because I've been in Norwalk for 64 years. I've lived my entire life here. I've raised my 3 wonderful children here. I have a family of educators. I've been an integral part of this community throughout my adult life in many different parts of our community. I've run a continuous operational business for 43 years. I've made investments. I've made payroll. I know what it is to run a business. I know what it is to have fiscal responsibility. I am also running for mayor because I am the one person that's most qualified to unify this community. We have roughly 38, 40% of this community that feels as if they're disenfranchised from the process. They feel as if their voices are not heard. This is what I'm hearing from people, and this is what I see. I believe one party rule in this community or any community is not really reflective of the community. We have a very wonderfully diverse community here in the city of Norwalk, and everyone needs to be represented. So I'm that person that's going to represent everyone from one end of the political spectrum to the other. I'm the person that's qualified to do that. I'm going to operate this city like a business. I'm going to run it responsibly. I'm going to end the budget crises that we have. I'm going to bring transparency to this city, which I've heard from so many people is what we are lacking completely. The community needs to know what's happening in this city at all times. We need to bring transparency back, and I'm the one candidate that's able to do that. So I am looking forward to making real improvements to the city of Norwalk and really reflect the people that live in this community, that have stakeholders that pay property taxes. I am the one candidate that's going to represent everyone in this community.
Okay, so candidates, I would suggest holding that microphone very close to your mouth. I'm not sure that everyone can hear you if you don't do that. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Vitaglione. Why are you running for mayor of Norwalk, and what are your qualifications?
Can everybody hear me? Oh, I can hear me. We're good.
There we go.
All right. Why am I running for mayor of Norwalk? I'm running for mayor of Norwalk to represent generally a large section of unrepresented people, namely those that have not really participated in municipal politics before. I'm here to represent the 40% of households that are below $75,000 a year. I'm here to represent the 57% of renters that are cost burdened. I'm here to represent 35% of the the childless households that still participate and, pay for our school funding. I'm here to facilitate more valuation from our tax dollars in that regard. I believe that municipal politics is kind of like a technology, and I believe that we need to update it every 10 years. Otherwise, we become stagnant. I feel that we're engaged in a moment of stagnation, and I believe through civic engagement and really kind of a cohesive and comprehensive collaboration with the community, we can actually develop a city that will, satisfy the quality of life and just the existential needs of our diverse populace.
Mr. Kites, same question. Why are you running for mayor of Norwalk, and what are your qualifications?
Thank you, Claude. Really quick, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this together. Thank you for what you do with the League of Women Voters and also what you do outside of the League of Women Voters. I know you guys are ladies are all involved in separate, many different organizations and are doing a lot of good things all across Norwalk. I'm running for Norwalk. Can you all hear me? No, I'm running for Norwalk because I believe Norwalk is going down the wrong path. I believe that I have the experience and the knowledge and the willingness to make the changes that we all want. And I do believe I'm the only candidate that will be able to take the charge and change the path Norwalk is on. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like Norwalk is the community we knew and loved before. I spent 10 years on the Common Council, and I was majority leader 5 times, and I was council president as well. Even though I've owned a business in Norwalk for over 35 years, that did not prepare me for being mayor in any way, shape, or form. Norwalk does not operate like any business. What has given me that experience to be mayor is my time on the council, getting to know the departments, being engaged and involved, and learning every aspect of how city government runs. Thank you.
Do any of the candidates want to do a 1-minute rebuttal, or should we just move on to the next question? All right. Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
With the budget battles we've had this year, if anyone attended the Board of Education budget battle in the summer, where 900 teachers, parents, and students turned out to reject the possible loss of over 100 of our educators due to budget woes, I would say that we need a business approach to our budgeting first and forever. Thank you.
Any other rebuttals for this question? Okay, let's move on to the second question then. So the second question goes to Mr. Shikatano first, and then we'll hear from Vitaglione, Kites, and Smith. So this question is, what are the top challenges facing Norwalk, and how would you address them?
One of the top challenges, some of the top challenges we have in Norwalk, we hear every day, is affordable housing, that there's not enough housing for the people that are here. We need a completely different approach to our housing approach. Affordable housing means different things to different people and different rates. We cannot continue on this path of just building apartments that people cannot afford. We need to have a broader base. We need to bring back home ownership to the people that are here. We need to have our people that are our students, our children that are raised in this city. We need to give them the ability to come back to Norwalk and purchase a home and put down roots and stay here. The housing issue in Norwalk is something that's going to be extremely challenging. We need to bring balance back to the city of Norwalk as far as housing goes. Another challenge we have in Norwalk is property taxes. Our property taxes are too high. The last property tax increase had to be broken up over 4 years because it was such a dramatic increase. We need to do something to bring revenue back to our city other than residential property tax, which is responsible for over 70% of our revenue. We need to broaden our revenue base to relieve the burden that we have on the residential property tax owners. That's a big question. The last issue I have is to talk about Board of Education and transparency within the Board of Education. We need to put together more of a partnership between City Hall and the Board of Education and our teachers and our parents and our teachers union. We need to make sure that we bridge this gap to increase transparency and have a more we have a better outcome in the end. I attended the last Board of Ed meeting I attended. We had many charts and graphs that showed how well we're doing in this city, but all these charts and graphs were posted against comparing us to Waterbury and New Haven and Bridgeport and other cities. That's not acceptable in my mind. I want to see charts and graphs that show that our Board of Education, our results are better than Darien, Greenwich, and New Canaan. So those are three top issues in my mind: taxes, transparency, our Board of Education funding, and affordable housing.
Mr. Vitaglione, what are the top challenges facing Norwalk and how would you address them?
Can you hear me now? All right, top challenges facing Norwalk in no particular order, though number one is definitely housing. Like I said, I am probably the only renter on this dais. Last year, I watched rent, basically between last year and this year, rent went up about $400 on average for a one bedroom. That is sort of an untenable and unsustainable market rate to keep the people that are working here in Norwalk here. With that comes transit. As we develop more urban density, we definitely need to keep in step with our multimodal program. We are doing that now with Complete Streets. I definitely believe that if we keep moving that forward, we will be able to attract basically the more cosmopolitan sect that will be able to afford $3,400 a month for a one bedroom, which is generally where the market is going in the next couple of years. I definitely want to increase small and local business. 75% of people that live in Norwalk work in another town, and 75% of people that work in Norwalk live in another town. I may have repeated that, flip it, you understand what I'm saying. And then coming down to diversifying revenue streams. Right now we have blight and zoning issues. We have fines and violations that are not being collected. That seems to be a dry revenue stream that I believe we need to actually put a concerted effort in enforcement on that. And then also whatever we can do on the, I guess, tax deferral level to really bolster our commercial real estate, which is definitely taking a hit post-COVID. I would imagine setting up structures to get more innovative businesses in our area, keeping people in town so they can actually spend money at, you know, the restaurants and supermarkets and, you know, builds a proper meadow in that capacity.
Mr. Kites, what are the top challenges facing Norwalk and how would you address them?
The first one's a combination of two. It's starting off with ECS funding. I believe that Norwalk has been shortchanged with ECS funding for far too long. And just to kind of put that in perspective, Danbury, a town of equal population, income levels, and student enrollment, and they receive $46,000 more a year in ECS funding. I think to solve any problems in life and in the city is money. And that by getting more ECS funding from the state, we can then take that burden off the taxpayer. Because Norwalk has seen large property taxes, and it looks like it's going to happen for the foreseeable future. And that well is run dry. So I think we need to lobby our state and federal representatives to increase ECS funding because we are not getting our fair share. We're paying up taxes to the state on a large scale, but we're not seeing that in return. So that combining ECS funding to help our schools and also take the burden off the taxpayer. And then I go to overdevelopment. Thank you. Overdevelopment. And especially luxury apartment development. I have done a lot of research on this. I've seen the numbers, and it's doing nothing but traffic and putting a strain on our infrastructure and adding students to our schools that we can't afford. Why are we adding apartment development? Are neighboring towns doing it? How does it benefit us? We can't even fund the schools now or pay to maintain our infrastructure now. And you're going to argue that we want more apartments? I don't see the logic in it. Sometimes you need to like put those studies that have been on a shelf collecting dust for years and use some common sense. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, what are the top challenges facing Norwalk and how would you address them?
Thank you. One of the top challenges, of course, is the school budgeting topic. We had a very difficult budget season this year. It was very contentious. It's already been referred to that, there were nearly 900 parents who came and let their voice be known. And so I, as a teacher, as someone who has worked in the classroom, given to our kids and worked with our administrators, I have a unique perspective. And what I will do to improve the situation is that I will reestablish the policy of chairing the Board of Education. With my perspective and working together with the superintendent, with the Board of Education, we can end the divisiveness and work towards what we all want, which is making sure that our kids and our teachers get the funding that they need. I don't disagree that we need more funding from Hartford and from the federal government. There have been unfunded mandates for decades. And so I will go to Hartford. I even actually spoke with the superintendent to talk about going to Hartford with her together to fight for specifically more special education funding. That's where we're really falling short. So I will do that and make sure that we are working together for our kids. I think communication is a major problem. We're hearing a lot about transparency. Meetings are all public, but we're not doing a good job getting the information out there. So I will establish a mayor's night out, going into the community and making sure that everyone is aware of projects that are coming up. And finally, affordability. And this is a long topic, and I know I only have a few seconds, but we really do have a lot of challenges. We need to diversify our housing stock. It can't be just all apartments, even though we do need them, right? We need places for people to live, but we need smaller units. We need units that fit in areas architecturally and culturally, keep the feel of our neighborhood.
Okay, so would any of the candidates like a 1-minute rebuttal?
I would.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about the school budget and the shortfall and the lack of oversight, which I always refer to lack of oversight. So at this point, we have two candidates that have had the ability to have oversight over the Board of Education and have not done so. I respect the work that they have done in this community. I commend them for their service and what they have done. But we have to be realistic. It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, but we got to the situation we got to in this summer through the party that is controlling this in this community at this point, or the representatives that are controlling this at this point. So it's time for a change. It's time for a change. We need to change course, change direction. We need to do that with different people. And I would like to take what's left of my time to plug the 3 Board of Ed candidates that we have running that I think are outstanding, would do a fantastic job. Artie Kismas, Trish Marsuko, and Xavier Guzman. We need them on Board of Education. Thank you.
Okay, other candidates, 1-minute rebuttal, or shall we move on? All right, go ahead.
I got into on the council specifically for my kids. My kids went here. My wife was the PTA president of this school governance council. So I got involved with city politics specifically for the Board of Education and to help improve my children's education. And it's easy to be on the outside and looking in and pointing fingers, but the logistics and the process, like I had said before, is far different than any business operates. You have volunteers doing these jobs. And when you're dealing with volunteers, the game changes. They're not paid employees. Their patience level for things is lower. Just the whole aspect and the process is completely different. So I say, before you point fingers, maybe you should have done it yourself. Thank you.
Any other rebuttals? Okay. Well, it's time for the exciting housing question that you all knew was coming. So the order for this question is going to be Vitaglione, Kides, Smith, and Shikatano. All right, this is a long question, so I'm going to read it once. I don't want to read it 4 times. The Connecticut Department of Housing has declared that cities like Norwalk lack sufficient affordable housing. Many residents and seniors have stated that they or their families may need to leave Norwalk soon as prices rise. Please offer at least two solutions to help solve the affordable housing challenges Norwalk is facing. And we'll start with Mr. Vitaglione.
Chloe, can I get clarity on that question real quick? Are we talking solely about seniors? Or are we talking about all people seeking to be displaced by?
Yeah, it's not strictly about.
Okay.
It's also about residents.
Gotcha. It's a good question. Two answers. I have talked to a number of seniors and a number of people whose pensions are no longer able to kind of really cover the cost of living as it continues to go up around here, and they are concerned about moving from where they existed. So what are we going to do about it? I believe that focusing on a more diverse array of housing stock will be the best course of action in that. I mean, we definitely need to put actual, effort behind legitimate affordable housing, not just a 10% sort of cut of basically above market value properties. We need to examine, actually, like Barbara said, other options like AUDs and duplexes that can actually provide for these people. Due to the fact that most of these people are trying to live off a pension and that is becoming anemic, whatever we could do to help support them in some kind of subsidy would be ideal. I know that we have like the housing authority, but that falls into a very specific realm. I would presume adjusting our tax plan for backing cost-effective housing to be developed. And actually, we really need to focus on affordable ownership, which is a little bit a sidestep of the question, but we talk a lot about rentals, but we don't really, we're not really focused on the ability of affordable ownership. I understand that stock is pretty limited. I think we've got like 3.3% vacancy rate. So really what we can do to expand that. So yeah, basically set up a tax deferment for developers that want to build housing that can satisfy the mixed income levels that are required to make our city like a robust and diverse environment.
Mr. Keites, please offer at least two solutions to help solve the affordable housing challenges Norwalk is facing.
When we're talking about affordable housing, we need to also talk about how the city will pay to educate these children coming from these units, because it's become unsustainable for the Norwalk taxpayers to fund our schools. And we also need to talk about the definition of affordable housing. I don't know when $2,100 for a one-bedroom apartment was considered affordable. I have two kids close to leaving college and getting out, and unless they're making six figures a year, I see them living at home for the foreseeable future. So those are two issues that need to be addressed and talked about in the same conversation as affordable housing. And I don't need years of focus groups to realize that Norwalk needs more affordable housing. I've seen the process in the city, and I think there's been a lot of peacocking and meetings that needed to be, let's just say, expedited. I think and I believe there's two viable options to increase affordable housing. One is through state or federal funding, and option two is to bring in a developer that's going to incorporate market rate units. I am a big fan of option one because I've seen the deals for option two, and Norwalk comes out on the losing side of those. So I understand the importance of the issue, and I will start addressing that issue day one if I'm elected. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, please offer at least two solutions to help solve the affordable housing challenges Norwalk is facing.
Yes, thank you. What we're dealing with here is not just a Norwalk problem or a national problem, it's a global problem. So it's going to take some real creativity to address this problem. The first thing I would do is I would establish a housing consortium that includes members of the community, developers, and financiers. Because the big problem here around diversifying our house stock really seems to be the banks. The banks do not want to fund anything that is not going to, or that, it's going to be risky for them. So they have not agreed to fund any kind of condominium development or small development. And I think of areas like Wall Street, particularly, where the look and feel of Wall Street calls for smaller developments, like 12, 18 units. And I think that that's a unique place for it, but we have a big fight in order to get there. So if we all sit down at the table and start hashing out some ideas about how to get there, I believe we can do it. Some other things that I would like to see is the housing bill pass at the state level, because Norwalk really does its share of affordable housing. We are at about 14%, where the towns around us are at 3%. So it's about time they do their share around affordable housing, because it'll make it a little bit easier for Norwalk to make this happen. There's also, I think that we can do better for our seniors. One of the things that I would look to do is to modernize tax relief for elderly and disabled homeowners and make it easier for seniors to stay in their homes, and also, find a way to make it easier for seniors to downsize who would like to do that. And then finally, something that we used to have here in Norwalk is that we required developers to pay into an affordable housing fund. And it was a number of years ago that that policy was changed to add in the 10%.
Okay. Mr. Shikatano, please offer at least 2 solutions to help solve the affordable housing challenges Norwalk is facing.
Okay, first we have to come to a very realization and answer a question. What is Norwalk's responsibility to affordable housing? We all want affordable housing. We like to increase affordable housing. But as my opponent pointed out, we're at about a 14% now with a 10% state mandate. So what is the ultimate number? And that also has to work along with what is our ultimate number for our population goal in the city of Norwalk. We have to look at our infrastructure and see what it's able to keep up with, our school system and everything related to that. Is our target population 150,000, 160,000? Because our city cannot sustain that. So we are at 14% now. What more can we do at this point? And there are a lot of ways we can get developers to build condominiums and small homes in Norwalk. We need to create a balance. Norwalk used to have a balance of small homes, condominiums, rental apartments, homes that people could live in, co-ops. That is all gone. In the past decade, that has been gone. We've bulldozed entire neighborhoods to put up high rental, high luxury, unaffordable apartments. So, but here we are at this point. It's too late now. We've already built these. So we need to address the situation. But first, we have to come to the realization of what this number is going to be and how we're going to address it. And affordability means different things to different people, for certain. And I definitely agree we need to do more for our seniors to keep them in the homes that they're in. That's a whole other aspect of this. And that's one of my highest priorities. But we need to create incentives for home ownership. Most importantly, we need to do that to bring balance back to the city and give people the ability to put down roots, build equity, and build wealth within their family through home ownership. We need to move towards that end goal. Thank you.
Would any of the candidates like a 1-minute rebuttal?
If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
It's actually not really a rebuttal. It's more of filling in some information. Vinny was asking about the number of housing needed to kind of satisfy our affordable issue. I saw in an abstract that we'll need 8,000 apartments to adequately cover basically people that are 50 to 44% AMI, which is a pretty large number. And just John, what you were saying, the average rent right now is $2,500 a month. 21 was last year. It went up like 40% in 4 months. It was pretty disturbing. And that's it.
All right. Another rebuttal. Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
I'll just finish my sentence if you don't mind. The Affordable Housing Fund, it used to be that developers would have to put in it was $200,000 into an affordable housing fund. That was eliminated when the city went to the ordinance that requires 10% affordable housing in all of our developments that are built. Why not do both? I'd like to see, that 10% affordable stay, as well as the developers contributing to the affordable housing fund as well, that can be used for true affordable housing.
Any other rebuttals from the remaining 2
course I
candidates? All right, go ahead.
All right. So that referring to that fund that we were talking about for developers to pay into to avoid the 10% affordable housing, the last Zoom meeting that I was in on had stated that there's roughly $2 million in that account. That's roughly enough to build 4 apartments. So that either has to be extended, has to be raised, the limit has to be raised, more money has to be put into that fund because to just paying a few bucks to opt out of having the affordable housing aspect of it is not really cutting the mustard.
Would you like a rebuttal, Mr. Kides? Go ahead.
On that bandwagon. I've been saying how we've sold Norwalk cheap to developers. I've done my research in our surrounding towns and cities. I've gotten large infrastructure investments and public amenities added to their developments, and Norwalk has not. We ask for solar panels and don't even get those. So I think so someone's making money. So I think we need, if we're going to, consider more development, we need to make sure they're kicking in their fair share. I mean, raising the number from 10% to 12%, I mean, will that really get us to where we need to be? Okay. No, I don't think it is, but I agree with my colleagues. A combination of the two, but definitely at the end of the day, our developers need to pay for the luxury of building in Norwalk. Thank you.
Okay, the order for this next question is going to be Kites, Smith, Chickatano, and Vitaglione. So that question is, Norwalk initiated a reorganization project several years ago in order to streamline staff management and become more effective and efficient. If elected, will you make any structural or personnel changes, and why? Please give an example.
This hit the bell right on the mark. First of all, morale at City Hall is in the toilet. If you know anyone that works there, talk to them. Any city employee, morale is in the toilet. That reorganization, all it did was cause a disconnect between departments. I don't approve with it. I didn't approve of it back then. It makes the mayor's job easy. And if you're going to be mayor, you got to understand that the job is going to be difficult. So I will completely restructure Norwalk City Hall to make it efficient and bring Norwalk to making it be a family and not be a corporate entity. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Smith. Oh, sorry. You want the question, don't you? All right. I'll just read the last part of it. If elected, will you make any structural or personnel changes, and why? Please give an example.
So I do have a slightly different perspective on the reorganization, which was happening as I was first elected. And I was well aware of many backdoor agreements and handshakes that were going on in the prior administration. So what I saw happening is efficiencies were improving. Those backdoor handshakes were ended and brought professionalism to City Hall. So I did support the reorganization. One of the aspects of the reorganization is that the direct reports from the mayor went from 19 to 9. So I do think City Hall is running more efficiently. However, it is very siloed. And I do, I have heard quite a bit about the morale in City Hall, and I do think it needs to be addressed. So one of the things that I would do once I'm elected is that I would do a full audit of every department and look at where we can find more efficiencies. I am aware the city is running very lean, and we need investments in IT. We need, there are definitely some things that we need, but another thing we can look at is where there might be some crossover, where we could, move employees and, make things run more efficiently. But more than anything, the departments need to talk to each other. It goes back to communication. We need better communication with the public. We need better communication among the staff. And so those are some things that I would do. Oh, I still 30 seconds. I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Chickatano, if elected, will you make any structural or personnel changes, and why? Please give an example.
Okay, as mayor, you are the leader at City Hall. I will ensure that every department is looked through personally. I will go through every department and make sure that we have a return on investment. One of the departments I would like to see change is I would like to see a separation of tourism and business development. I believe we need to enhance our business development department. We need to fund them properly. We need to grow it. We need to grow the business atmosphere in Norwalk. We need to bring businesses to Norwalk of all different sizes to try to create a revenue that alleviates this tax burden on our property tax owners. I am a hands-on manager. If anybody's ever worked with me and knows what I'm like. So I will review absolutely every single office. I will be there on a daily basis. I will spend who knows how many hours a day at City Hall, as much like I have it worked throughout my work life. So I'm going to oversee everything personally. As far as a complete audit goes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure that our money is spent effectively, efficiently, and in the best possible manner. So it's a question of oversight. It's a question of management. And it's a question of caring and making sure that this gets done. It's good to surround yourself with people that do the job, but you have to make sure everyone is doing the job that they were intended to do. Thank you.
Mr. Vitaglione, if elected, will you make any structural or personnel changes and why? Please give an example.
Absolutely. This is why I'm applying for an executive position, in part to actually make departmental and structural changes within City Hall. I agree with Barbara in terms of definitely bolstering our transparency. I've noticed there is a disconnect amongst departments, which generates sort of fractured operations. Part of it will definitely be the transparency issue that we're all going to bring up, because that is a key thing. You need an informed public to be involved in these matters, and I would definitely make moves to make that happen. But in specific, certain departments that I have my eye on right now are blight and zoning violations. Like I said, it's money left on the table. We're being pretty anemic with absentee landlords that are taking advantage of the system and evading taxes. So I would definitely like to restructure that department where we have a more focused and cohesive enforcement and violation process, which in turn will help us with our blight and probably help us with some parking issues just by proxy in nature. One of the other things that I'm talking in regards to that is setting up the resident parking permit, specifically in East Norwalk as a pilot. That will be more integration with TMP and more communication with the local residents there. I know it's been on the table for 2 years. That's something I would definitely like to move forward. Not really restructuring the TMP, but definitely an assistance. That said, they could also use some help in terms of developing a complete streets task force, because I understand that they are very busy. But yeah, I seek the executive position to change structural elements within City Hall. I mean, basically, you're asking me to assess what's going on in a wall through a window like I'm a general contractor. I won't know until I'm there and look at the paperwork and see the performance, who's working, who's not. But yeah, definitely blight and zoning are things that I want to examine closer, because I feel that we can improve upon that.
Okay. Would any of the candidates like a 1-minute rebuttal? Oh, I'm sorry, I've left out someone. Oh, all right. So it's, yeah, okay. That's all right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Doug. One thing I want to address, Norwalk has not had a personnel director for quite some time. And over the years of my time on the council and just being a Norwalk resident for over 50 years, I got to know a lot of city employees. And they feel they have no place to express their grievances or talk to or even discuss any personnel related matters. And that should have been a position that was filled a long time ago, but it's been years since the city's had a personnel director. And that's a show of how disconnected the administration is to its employees. Everyone is working in silos. I mean, like I said, during my time on the council, I built relationships with these people, and they are not happy. And I plan to address that starting day one. Thank you.
Any other rebuttals?
Yes. The city did just appoint a director of human resources just a few weeks ago. So, and it definitely was a position that was, it was a part-time position for a long period of time. It took a long time to find Sharon Torres, but she has begun. And so that department is moving forward. And I think, you know, just to respond to something that Vinny said, one of the things that I would hire a full-time grants writer. I think that that's a position that that pays for itself and can help with finding grants that many people don't even know are out there. And I think that that's a really important thing that we need, as well as to hire a maintenance position for the Recreation and Parks Department, which is very much needed.
Okay, any other rebuttals from the remaining candidates? All right, Then we'll move on to our audience written questions. This question is going to go to Smith, then Shikatano, then Vitaglione, and then Kites. The question is, what is your opinion of the new trash and recyclables pickup policy? If elected, would you change it?
Oh, I don't know if I have my notes on that, but okay, so it's really not about my opinion. But what I'm going to do is attempt in the best way that I can to explain the thinking and the process behind it. Waste management is the city spends well over $7 million annually to send out our waste. We no longer receive anything back for recycling. So recycling and solid waste is a huge expense. What is happening is that those expenses are increasing exponentially. And so in order to address that, the city moved to this new plan with these garbage cans that have caused quite a stir. So there's two aspects to it. What the city is asking you to do is to recycle more and to be thinking about food waste and doing everything you can to minimize the amount of solid waste you put out to the curb. The second garbage can, this has caused quite a bit of a stir. Everyone has received it free. It's included in your mill rate if you're getting garbage. If you need a second one, the cost of $300 isn't just for the bin itself. It is for 2 years of pickup so that your mill rate will not increase. So I hope that that helps everyone understand, because if we don't address this exponential increase in the cost, we're going to have to increase your taxes. We're going to have to increase your mill rate. So by working together, and this is what it's really about, it's about all of us working together for the common good to make sure that we're all contributing to reducing these costs together. And I think that we can do it if we understand the reasoning behind it.
Okay. Mr. Shikatano, what is your opinion of the new trash and recyclables pickup policy? If elected, would you change it?
Well, my opinion of the trash situation we have now is twofold. It has to do with transparency, clarity, and public information. I personally received a card from Wind Waste, or whatever it's called, that kind of vaguely explained we were getting a new garbage can. And that was the first I'd heard of it as a Norwalk resident and somebody that's running for mayor. I knew there were some discussions about that. But the way that it was rolled out, I think, was really done incorrectly. I think the public should have known it was coming. And that's also two-part. Well, people were upset about having one garbage can, and then when people said, "Well, how can we get a second can?" They just doubled down in that same mode of bringing this to the public with, "Well, we're going to see what's going to happen with the second can. We're going to see what's going to happen," and then suddenly, wham! Everybody had a $300 garbage can. I think it's not so much what happened or what transpired, but in the manner in which it transpired. And as far as the tax increases goes, we happen to have a 6-unit apartment house. So if anybody is unaware, more than 4 units, you now have to pay for your garbage. So suddenly our tax, pretty much where we used to have garbage included, went up almost $3,000 a year on that one small apartment complex. So at the same time, we're crying about affordable housing. When we have affordable apartments, now we're adding a cost factor to those affordable apartments that we have. We have very inexpensive apartments, and now we're adding a whole nother cost factor to that. So there's a lot of points to this whole garbage situation that I think could have been done an awful lot better. And what I would change that? Well, we have to review the contracts, and we have to review the contracts moving forward, see what the date of the contracts are when they expire, and we need to work with a company that's going to offer a real serious discounted rates to the people that no longer have municipal garbage pickup. So we can spread the pain of this all around for certain. But we've taken a whole part of our society, of our community, out of having free garbage. And this rolled out on the same month that you got your tax increase. So with the optics of this were really, really bad. Norwalk in the large, they're reasonable people and they understand, and I have to stop.
Mr. Vitaglione, what is your opinion of the new trash and recyclables pickup policy? If elected, would you change it?
This is one of the benefits of renting, is that I don't have to deal with this issue particularly. This is more of my landlord's problem. I do know that the red tops have been highly controversial amongst many groups of people. My landlord owns 3 properties. I'm in a 3-family. Next door, he has a 5-family. He's required to go get a dumpster now because there's no pickup for that. He's agitated. Randomly during a break on work in Westport, I went out to the back alley and I ran into a person for All American Waste. And actually, I got his business card. I said, if you can give us a better deal than Wynn's doing and I get elected, let's talk about actually adjusting this program. I know that the red tops really aggravated a lot of people. Again, as Vinny said, in terms of the transparency and the sudden shift and change. But this is not particularly my problem. I haven't really been affected by it, but I know many have. And yeah.
Mr. Kites, what is your opinion of the new trash and recyclables pickup policy? If elected, would you change it?
With 100% certainty, if I was still on the council and this item was up for a vote, I would definitely not have supported it. I mean, there's a lot of other places to cut that would have less of an impact on the public. And I can guarantee you the current administration is kicking itself in the butt for doing this right now, so close to an election. This goes right up there with the many maintenance, quality of life. There should have been at least a discussion, okay, if there's more than a family of 3 or some other specifics, if someone qualifies for it, to not have to pay $300 for a garbage can. I know the numbers, I've seen the numbers. I wasn't involved in the conversations and made the decision, but I definitely would not have supported this if it was an item that I saw on the council.
Okay, does anybody want to rebuttal on this topic? Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Yeah, I want to talk about the issue of transparency and communication, because that is where this fell down. And it's the same thing with the tree, right? That, we're all very upset about. Nobody wants to see that tree come down. The city, the Common Council, the Public Works Committee, these have been very public meetings over a period of about 3 years around the change in waste management. But it's not getting, the information's not getting to the public. And I'm thinking, I think about, Board of Education. I know that, I've heard from you that you have meetings and nobody comes, so why is that? And I want to go back to the mayor's night out. I think that this is something that can really help, because we don't have that daily newspaper giving us the report of every meeting that we used to, like we used to. So I will go out into the community, maybe in a school, and with the entire staff, and give you the rundown of every project that's coming down the pike in the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years. So you have the information.
Okay, anyone else? Hold on, we have a tie, so I have to decide which one goes first. The next one up would be Mr. Shikatano.
Rebuttal we're talking about, right?
Yep, yeah, there's, if you
All right,
both go at the
although
same time.
I
have to-
appreciate the question, and I know that it's an issue that it's on everybody's minds in the community. But we need to be realistic about this as well. There's a contract that we have. As mayor on day one, I don't believe I will have the ability to change that contract. So I will make a promise that when that contract is due to review, there will be more clarity, there'll be more transparency, and I'll make sure it is a fair contract for the residents of this community.
Okay, any other rebuttals? Go ahead.
I just want to elaborate more on the transparency element. For example, Tuesday 21st, there's going to be a discussion about resident parking passes. I only discovered it because somebody saw a little blurb about yay big in the hour, and then I got an email. I couldn't find it anywhere online. We need to bring our communication with the public into the 21st century. I understand that printing in the paper is, I guess, obligatory towards the law, but we need to be more participatory in actually engaging the public, and that comes with educating and keeping an open line of communication so we can have a say. I was part of the tree and a couple other things, and it was inspiring to see literally 50 citizens come out for that, and then go downstairs and see about 30 or 40 citizens for the budget meeting. So when the word gets out, the people will show up. We just need to have a better mechanism to really get to the people, and that is stepping up to 21st century and adapting our technology.
You want a rebuttal?
Sure. That was always the question. How do you get the public more engaged? And I remember when I first started running for the council, the most asked question I got was, what is the council? And when we're talking people in their 40s that have been here for however long, the vast majority of the public aren't in tune with what's going on, which is unfortunate. And I've seen meetings, budget meetings with, just Diane Lorcella in the audience. If you're here, Diane, there you go, right? I mean, we're talking, a significant vote, and no one really is engaged. So that's unfortunate. That's just goes back to people elect who they believe they can trust. And I think, and I'm glad to see you here because you're here, I believe, because you want to know more about the candidate and who to vote for. The complete opposite of the chamber event we had earlier, right? So I'm glad to see you here, engaged, and because you represent the vast majority that aren't in touch with what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to move on to another audience-generated question. The order for this question will be Shikatano, Vitaglione, Kites, and Smith. And I'm going to ask, if possible, it would be great if we skip the rebuttals on this one so that we have time for one more question after that. So, but if it's really heated, we can always do rebuttals. All right. So the question goes to Mr. Shikatano. Please speak to your plans to address traffic, parking, and congestion issues throughout Norwalk.
Well, thank you. Well, the first thing we have to do is, once again, I repeat myself, so we need to come to a realization of what the city is going to be moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years. And from there, we can address what our traffic concerns are. We can decide what is necessary to keep traffic flowing in Norwalk, and we need to have a grand master plan that we could stick to. We have traffic congestion in so many places in this community that it's unbearable. It's impossible to get around so many areas. We've talked a little bit in the past. Take very closely with our planning and zoning. Listen to some planning and zoning meetings that some of the ideas were to build buildings right onto the curb and have the parking in the back. So that's just an example of not having long-term planning where the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. So we need to build a city around the amount of people that we expect to have in this city first. So we need to determine that. A lot of streets are going to have to be widened. It's going to be a painful process. I'm going to tell you the truth. But in order to keep traffic moving along, we're going to need to increase that. And I'm a full support of residential parking passes to alleviate the parking situations we have on our side streets. That's for certain. And we can use that parking passes for all different types of areas in Norwalk, not just for our residential. So we need to take a real look at it, have a master plan, and we need to grow, and we need to have these growing pains, and we're going to have to build these streets that are necessary to sustain this traffic and get us moving around without sitting at a traffic light for 5 turns at a light. Thank you.
Mr. Vitaglione, please speak to your plan to address traffic, parking, and congestion issues throughout Norwalk.
So I did 20 months car-free in Norwalk. We were allegedly going to be the pedestrian mecca. I put that to shoe leather. I mean, the number one way to avoid traffic is not to be traffic. That would be having more opportunity to work in Norwalk and not have to travel. As I mentioned before, 75% of workers living in Norwalk go somewhere else to work. 75% that live elsewhere come to Norwalk to work, usually at the same times. That is definitely a causative factor of the traffic. As we increase our multimodal, as we get more, I guess, younger people from the city that are moving into our urban density, we're going to have the opportunity to actually remove cars from the street. We're not going to fix it by making wider. We're just going to fill that void. That's been proven categorically. It's really developing functional multimodal transportation to go from our dense hubs to basically our shopping districts. And that would help. I mean, the residential parking pass, I already talked about that multiple times. I mean, I definitely believe East Norwalk is a good place for a test run of that, especially in the tributary sections. Parking is a very problematic thing. We have a number of commercial vehicles. And I guess that would also come down to sort of parking enforcement. If we're doing a residential parking pass, somebody has to enforce it. That'll probably be an involvement of the parking authority, which to some is a mixed bag of opinion in how they're operating. But that said, we need places to park. We need the ability to actually it not take 45 minutes to get from Norwalk to Norwalk. And I do believe that if we make good use of our mass transit, be it train or bus, or even our micro transit, which is the wheels to you, that we can diminish traffic through attrition.
Mr. Kides, please speak to your plan to address traffic, parking, and congestion issues throughout Norwalk.
First thing, stop apartment development immediately. That's my, I believe what needs to be done first and foremost. We've had a lot happen in the last 10 years in Norwalk, in not just our urban cores, but throughout Norwalk. There's been so much construction. Norwalk has become unrecognizable. I've had people come in that, moved to down south or whatever the case may be, come back to Norwalk, and they're like, what happened to Norwalk? It's completely different. I think we need to take a breath, evaluate what we have, and focus solely on urban revitalization to fix what we have before we even think about bringing more in. The traffic's here. It's where we have poor coordination, I believe, between the state, the city, and all the utility companies. I mean, how frustrating it is when you see a road just paved and then CLMP comes down and just digs a channel right down the road, down the middle of it. I see it all the time. Frustrates the heck out of me, and I'm sure it frustrates the heck out of you. It's where we dug this grave and now we have to live with it. But I think stopping apartment development and evaluating what we have and working on fixing what we have is the first priority before we can talk about anything else. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, please speak to your plan to address traffic, parking, and congestion issues throughout Norwalk.
Yeah, traffic's really a problem for all of us. We get stuck in this congestion and then detours all the time. So, I have a couple approaches, and one thing I want us to think about is we really are improving upon one of the problems, which is congestion. And I want you to think about the opening of Wegmans versus the opening of Chick-fil-A. There was a great deal of planning put into to that opening. And so the traffic issues around Wegmans have not been nearly as bad as they were when Chick-fil-A opened. So we're getting there a little bit. But some of the ways that I think that we can improve things are, one, to use technology. We need to use technology around two areas. One is to retime our traffic lights. This is something that we haven't looked at nobody even remembers the last time we looked at the timing of our lights. So that can improve traffic flow. Another thing is to look at the permitting of work being done. And East Avenue is a prime example of that. Sometimes there are 5 different permits operating at the same time. We need to use technology to time them better so that we don't have so many detours there. Another thing is, becoming less car-centric, of course, and by doing so, by adding more walkable, bikeable streets, using more public transportation, having people use more public transportation, and we are doing a better job around that. You can just look at our bus processes now have improved greatly. Adding more trees and getting people walking will help with that. Another issue around traffic is speeding. We have a real problem in some areas. I think of West Norwalk Road. I think of Newtown Avenue. There's some real speeding problems there, and what the city recently did was approved traffic cameras so that we can capture speeders, and even signs there will start to slow people down if they know that they're being watched. So there's residential parking passes. I support, and we're in the process.
Okay, so this will be the last question before we do the closing statements. And the order of answering is going to be Vitaglione, Kides, Smith, and Shikatano. The question is to Mr. Vitaglione. To what extent would you cooperate with ICE agents trying to operate in Norwalk?
Oh man, I was waiting for this question. So wait, repeat it one more time for me, Claude, so I understand.
Yeah, sure. To what extent would you cooperate with ICE agents trying to operate in Norwalk?
I'm not inclined to cooperate with ICE. I believe them to be a fascist arm of the government. As an elected official, I really won't have much control over them. They are federal. There was a meeting about 2 months ago where our city officials basically said their hands are tied and they can't do anything, and that it's really incumbent upon the community to kind of be the support structure when it comes. I mean, I used to make a joke to some people I talked when I was asked this question. I mean, if getting arrested is good enough for the mayor, Newark, and it's good enough for the mayor of Norwalk. I do not support the activity they're doing. I do not support the lack of due process. I do not support armed, masked people in our streets. Will I get in their face about it? Probably. Will I get arrested? Most likely. I just need somebody to take care of my dog while I'm in the cooler.
Okay. We're gonna move on now. Mr. Kites,
Thank you.
I'll read the question for you. To what extent would you cooperate with ICE agents trying to operate in Norwalk?
I mean, this federal grandstanding of ICE agents when they come into town makes me question the state of our country. But like I said, I'm not, let's leave the national politics outside. I don't agree with it, and if elected, I will direct the police department not to support it in any way. The one change I will make, though, with the police union contract, because it starts there, is if an undocumented resident is identified not by profiling, but as a convicted felon, the Norwalk Police Department should notify the federal authorities. Because I believe if you're living here and you commit a crime and you commit a class, A felony, you should lose that right. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to Ms. Smith. To what extent would you cooperate with ICE agents trying to operate in Norwalk?
I would not cooperate with ICE agents. The city of Norwalk does not cooperate with ICE agents. Our police department does not cooperate with ICE agents. So that has been our policy, and I will absolutely continue that. We were pretty terrorized by what happened here in Norwalk by having these ICE agents violently arrest someone just minding their own business. There was no warrant. So I will absolutely stand up to ICE agents and do everything in my power to protect our community. Because if one of us is not safe, if one person is not safe to go into the police department to report a crime, then no one in this community is safe. And so I would advocate to strengthen the Trust Act. I do believe that if they are coming in, they should show their faces, and they must show a warrant. And that was something that happened with Mr. Chavez. There was no warrant, and he was violently taken. And so, additionally, though, I will make sure to work with our local nonprofits who are wrapping their arms around the immigrant community to assure that they are getting their needs met. You think about the Chavez family with the major breadwinner who has been deported. That family needs support. And so I will work with Building One Community and other organizations that are working with our immigrant community to make sure that they know their rights and make sure that they are getting their needs met at these very, very trying times.
Okay, Mr. Shikatano, to what extent would you cooperate with ICE agents trying to operate in Norwalk?
This subject is very close to me. Every human deserves dignity and respect. Our city's greatest strengths is the diversity of our communities that are here seeking the American dream. My parents and brother are immigrants coming in 1958 and 1959. I'm the firstborn here. I lived the immigrant life. When I went to kindergarten, I didn't even speak English. My mother still is not a citizen. I understand the struggles firsthand. This is a challenging time for the mayor's office. But as mayor, I must work with the cards that I am dealt. I did not create the situation. This is where we are. As mayor, I will follow all state and federal laws. Our outstanding police department will follow the State Trust Act law to the T. And I will defer to our chief of police to apply these laws. I will make sure my administration does everything possible to keep all residents safe and free from fear, and all residents can thrive and live their lives. As mayor, I will ensure social services are available to all Norwalk residents. I will never enrage people's fears and anger for political gain. I'm going to lead with facts, not fear. I will do everything I can to keep this community safe for everyone that lives in this community. It is the humanitarian thing to do. It is the right thing to do. It is how we treat each other in this community. And how we treat each other in this community is who we are. And we treat everyone in this community with dignity, respect, and if there's crime committed, with due process. And that is how I am going to lead. Thank you.
Okay, we are on to the closing statements. The order for the closing statements will be Kites, Vitaglione, Chicatano, and Smith. This is a 3-minute closing statement.
Thank you, Doug. I have two top priorities if elected. The first one being to increase education funding because it has become unsustainable for the Norwalk taxpayer to fund our schools. Like an example I gave before, Norwalk is being shortchanged, and this is one example. Danbury, a city of almost identical population, student enrollment, income levels, receives over $46 million more in ECS funding than Norwalk. If elected, I will hold our state representatives accountable to increase ECS funding by any means necessary. And yes, that means legal action. I know from experience that an elected official will not point the finger at someone from his own party. I understand that in fear of losing support, but I do not have those same limitations. My second top priority is to stop apartment development. In my time on the council, every traffic study I saw said the lights would be synchronized, the roads would be widened, there would be no impact on traffic. And then you had the financial department saying with all their degrees that after the 7 years of tax abatement, everyone's property taxes would go down. Well, here we are all these years later, and as you could all know, traffic is a mess, and the financial experts didn't account for things such as inflation, the children that are added to the school system from these developments, and infrastructure costs, and leaving every Norwalk property taxpayer with high property tax increases. So I made the mistake of trusting the information I was given when I was on the council, but unfortunately the city continues to ignore those facts in return for political donations, yes, and outright laziness. I'll close by saying if we don't learn from our history, we are destined to repeat it. So we need to get off the path Norwalk is currently on, because I can tell you from my experience, if we don't do it soon, there will be no coming back, and we will be Stanford. Thank you all for your time.
Mr. Vitaglione, closing statement.
All right, you guys know my name, Eric Vitaglione. I'm running for mayor, unaffiliated. I got it through nominated petition, so I wasn't chosen by a party or a committee. I had about 400 random citizens sign a paper saying that they want me to step up, I don't know, give voice to, I guess, people that don't usually participate in this sort of municipal thing. I mean, I've only been politically active for 2 years. I guess I'm making up for lost time. But that said, I'm here to represent the sub 50 demographic. I'm here to represent the sub $75,000 a year demographic, the renter that is continuously cost burdened. I don't have children. I represent the 35% of the people in Norwalk that do not have children in our school system. I am with all the people at this table that we do need to increase our ECS funding. We're getting anemic amounts, and last year I spent a lot of time up in Hartford advocating for certain state legislation. I would definitely make sure that I make a presence up there when I'm elected for sure. And I'll have a little bit more clout and maybe they'll listen to me. But yeah, I'm here basically to represent the third of our voting block that is unaffiliated because they are not or turned off from certain sectarian aspects that come from the two-party system. I got into this because I did not believe that it was functioning for us in a capacity. I danced with a couple of other third parties, and I'm strictly unaffiliated at this point in time. I get to be unbossed, to quote Fannie Mae Hammer, but also I get to be unbiased by being unaffiliated. So I'm here to represent the sub 50, the renter. And I mean, my concerns are basically everything I expressed ad infinitum. We need to adjust our housing. We need to improve our transit. And if we can bolster our local economy, specifically with locally owned businesses that will keep people that live in Norwalk, working in Norwalk, we will mitigate some traffic element just by proxy. And also, we will have more economic revenue streams. That said, I also want to focus on the blight and zoning that has basically been anemically enforced. There's money on the table. We should definitely get it. Whatever we could do to ease the tax burden off of the single-family homeowner. Vinny mentioned the American dream. Many of those individuals were able to manifest that American dream. Most people I talk to, myself included, we have no delusion that the American dream is for us anymore. So I'm here to figure out what are we going to do about it. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shikatano, 3-minute closing statement.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate. It is so important for our city to have opportunities like this to come together, share ideas, and talk about Norwalk's future. The League helps raise awareness about upcoming elections and gives residents an opportunity to better understand the position of the candidates. An informed voter is powerful. I stand before you not just as a candidate for mayor, but as someone who has lived and worked in Norwalk my entire life. I've always been involved in the community in roles such as president of the Seaport Association, board member of the Maritime Aquarium, president of St. Anne's Club, and several fundraising efforts that I've organized over the years to support many of our wonderful nonprofits that our city has. Yes, I'm a small business owner, but more importantly, I'm a neighbor who has seen our city change. Sometimes for the better, but too often in ways that leave residents behind. When people ask why I'm running, my answer is simple. I want to help our residents, every homeowner, renter, student, and seniors. If you invest in Norwalk, Norwalk should invest in you and give back with the future in mind. But too often, City Hall has forgotten taxes are high, traffic is unmanageable, parking is unreasonable and ill-managed, small businesses feel unsupported and unheard, overdevelopment has been pushed without balance or accountability. We see it in our neighborhoods, blight spreading, enforcement overlooked, and absentee landlords packing too many people into unsafe apartments. We need balance. We need leadership that listens. And we need a mayor who will prioritize spending where it matters most, our schools and the people who live here. The Board of Education deserves resources, but with that comes a demand for transparency. No more backdoor meetings. As mayor, I won't just show up when the budget meetings move from the council chambers to the concert hall. I will attend Board of Ed meetings as mayor, demand accountability, and fight to make sure our children get the education they deserve, line by line accuracy in how their money is spent, not rush budget meetings that leave department heads unprepared and under pressure. Both of my opponents have spent years in common council creating the very issues we desperately need to address. Do not keep voting for the same people and expect different results. Norwalk may be a city, but at its heart, it's a community of hardworking families, seniors, and neighbors who deserve safe streets, strong schools, fair taxes, and leadership that puts people first. That's the Norwalk I want to build, not for developers, not for Hartford, but for you. On November 4th, I humbly ask for your vote. I'm not a career politician. I don't chase golden shovel photo ops, and I don't walk around with Hartford entourage. I'm running because I care about this city. I've lived its struggles alongside you, and I know we can make Norwalk stronger, safer, and more balanced. Norwalk doesn't need another politician. We need a mayor to usher in balanced growth, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. Norwalk needs a mayor for the people. I am that man. Please vote for Vinny Shikatano.
Ms. Smith, 3-minute closing statement.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and NancyOnNorwalk for hosting this event, and thank you to all of you for being here tonight. I'm running to be your mayor because Norwalk's future is just too important to leave to chance. I care about our residents, I love this city, and I'm ready to fight for the kind of community we will leave to our children and grandchildren while improving the quality of life for all of us. My family and I chose to make Norwalk our home because of its diversity. My children went through our public schools and were enriched by growing up here. I want future generations of Norwalkers to feel the same way and to know they can afford to build their lives here. I'm proud to have been a Norwalk Public Schools teacher. Teaching taught me resilience and grit. And it's my experience, both as a teacher and on the Common Council, that give me a perspective no one else in this race can bring to the mayor's office. I know how to manage multiple and often conflicting needs in the same community and assure each voice is heard, valued, and that everyone can succeed. I know how City Hall works. and how it can and should work better for everyone. For 8 years, I've served on the Common Council, twice as council president and as chair of key committees. I've led with fairness and accountability, always weighing what is best for Norwalk's families. I've challenged decisions that didn't serve our residents and supported school construction projects and major infrastructure improvements. That is the kind of leadership I will bring on day one as your mayor. When I talk about affordable housing, I'm not talking about a slogan. I'm talking about making sure that people who keep our city running, our teachers, police officers, firefighters, and working families can actually afford to live here. I'll collaborate with public and private housing partners to diversify our housing stock and offer more opportunities for first-time home buyers and seniors who want to downsize. I'll work to modernize tax relief for elderly and disabled homeowners to qualify more middle-income seniors. I support our business community, both small and large, to grow their successes and increase our tax base, which will in turn lower the tax burden on our families who are feeling tapped out. I've earned the support of the AFT Teachers Union, the Carpenters, the Building Trades, and the Working Families Party. These endorsements do not come easily. They come because I've proven year after year I have fought and always will fight for working families and fair wages while assuring we have a city that works for everyone, despite our differing needs. Norwalk, we have a choice. We need an experienced leader who brings both compassion and experience, someone who has led in City Hall and has led in the classroom and who is ready to deliver results to our residents. I stand ready to set a new path, one that opens up City Hall to all the people, delivers accountability and transparency, and allows every resident to thrive. I'll dedicate my energy, skills, and determination for making Norwalk stronger every single day. I'm Barbara Smith, and I ask for your support to be the next mayor of Norwalk.
Okay, thank you. Let's give a round of applause for all the candidates. You may shake hands.